Tired of ads interrupting your favorite show? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Download the Amazon Music app or visit amazon.com/ad-free sports. That's amazon.com/ad-free sports to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of ACAST shows ad-free for Prime members. Some shows may have ads.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds, owner and user of Mint Mobile, with a special holiday message. If you sign up now for 3 months, you get 3 months free on every one of our plans, even unlimited. Now, I realize this is more of a holiday offer than it is a holiday message. But if you read between the lines, you can see a message in there. It says we love you. Visit mintmobile.com/switch for the offer.
Limited time new customer offer. Activate within 45 days. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. Unlimited customers using more than 40 gigabytes per month will experience lower speeds. Video streams at 480p. See mintmobile.com for details.
Hello, EggChasers. It's the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. Back in the rugby dungeon with lots to talk about, so I'm not going to waste any time. JB is sock-free, OnlyFans ready, and fresh from a weekend. It's a good 4 or 5 days in Dubai.
Yeah, big, heavy shift in Dubai. Hello, Tim Cocker. How are you? How are you, Phil?
Hello, JB. Introducing me instead of Tim this week.
No, go for it. I like it.
Why not?
Why not?
Just mixing it up.
I'm good, JB.
Just like I was in Dubai, mixing it up.
Well, firstly, well done. You're incredible. You're always, when you go away on these weekends, you come back, and I admire the energy you have.
I'm quite good at long-form drinking. It's my thing.
You don't have endurance. You're more built for power, not endurance.
I mean,
except when you're drinking.
Yeah, except when I'm drinking. I can drink for days on end. And it's not a healthy situation, I can guarantee you that. So the best way to avoid a hangover is just to drink more the next day. And eventually it will catch up with you. So I think 4 days is like my max.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Drinking, what we did in Japan 4 and a bit years ago.
You know, it fills me with dread and anxiety.
It was 16 days of drinking like you're on a stag do. It was nuts.
Well, JB's been out at the Sevens. I'm sure he'll give us a blow-by-blow account of all of the rugby that went on, or else we'll just hear lots of stories about life in Dubai. That to look forward to.
Yes.
As always, you can get in touch with us, contact eggchasers@gmail.com on email. That's the best way to get in touch, to be honest, because, well, that gives you as much space as you need. You're not limited to 140 characters. We don't really use social media unless it's for videos of JB doing lifts.
Yes, well, there's lifting on Instagram, but also, I tell you what, follow me on LinkedIn. The quality of interaction on LinkedIn is so high, it's ridiculous. So people actually listen to rugby and they have real jobs, unlike people that run rugby blogs. So it's really, really good to hear from people. And follow me on LinkedIn and have a conversation about rugby. It's great. Really good.
The other way you can support the show, keep the lights on, and get extra content is on Patreon. Patreon.com/EggChasers. And I think our plan is to do a little extra today, because there are lots of topics which we might hold back slightly. And I think Patreon, with our most closest, dearest, most trusted supporters, we can just let go.
Yeah, and I think they are all sort of linked. And I feel very angry about 3 of these topics. Like, really very angry. Maybe 4 of them. So I don't really want to pollute the rugby content with that anger. So we'll wait for Patreon.
Well, I don't think we shouldn't touch upon some of these hot button issues on the podcast. It's just, if you feel like you want to, just hit the brakes, you've got an outlet, JB. How about that?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, there was lots of rugby going on. But let's actually start with a story that was earlier in the week and has become one of the biggest stories of the week. The England captain, or former England captain, stepping back from playing international rugby for the Six Nations and maybe beyond. Owen Farrell.
Which means that of the England captains or former England captains who have captained England and are in the squad or were in the World Cup squad, Farrell has stepped back, Courtney Lawes has retired, Tom Curry is out for an extended period of time, meaning if they are going to have a captain them who has experience captaining England, the only man will be Ellis Genge.
Who I do not think is a very good captain.
And who might not even be a starter.
Yeah, am I even allowed to say that? Because it strikes me that there's a lot of conflation between abuse of Owen Farrell, which I think sometimes mild abuse, okay, fine, sports stars, we're all, that we're all guilty of criticising them at some point. I don't mean personal abuse, but yeah, some abuse and criticism. And I don't know, this is a very Owen Farrell story to me, which is anything which involves Owen Farrell just snowballs into something completely unwieldy with a life of its own.
It did surprise me how picking up on what you just said, I thought, and I said on this podcast, and the absolute circus that there was before the World Cup with that poor tackle against Tame Basham, the judicial panel saying it was yellow card only, the ridiculous outcry after that was just something that it was like, what? If this was any other player, this would not be this big of a deal. But because it was Owen Farrell, it was just an insane...
It's a huge deal.
It was a huge deal. No. But because it was Owen Farrell, it was just whipped up to a level... I haven't seen it. Equally, now what you're saying on the other side is the... And I don't know if it's some people feeling a little bit guilty and kind of hitting the reverse button, beep, beep, but it's also sort of... It's become a much bigger story than just Owen Farrell saying, I'm going to not play for England for a bit.
So first things first, if you don't want to play for England, that's kind of your prerogative.
Yeah.
So Courtney Lawrence has decided not to play for England. He's got 4 small kids. He's 30s now. Yeah, okay, I understand that. There's also the argument to say you should never retire from representative honours, which I know is a position that you strongly...
If your country calls, you answer that call.
Yeah, if there's no one better than you, you should be playing, I think. But on the other hand, people have the right to retire. So, Courtney Lawrence has done it. Now, the difference is, with this one, is Owen Farrell has done like a temporary retirement. But he's not even the first one to do that, is he? Because Joe Mauler's done it.
Yeah. And Joe Mauler's done it several times.
Yeah, and Joe Mauler, is very smart. Like, look, I'm the best Lucid then, I'm the best Lucid now. If I'm not the best, I'm comfortably the second best. You need me more than I need you. And that's his attitude. He cited mental health in the past, but it's Owen Farrell, isn't it? And
I think that is different, though, because Joe Marler was not always first choice. Or equally, Joe Marler has done this several times, and I think that sort of dilutes how big of a deal it is. I think that the phrase that Owen Farrell used after the semi-final of the World Cup, which he also used 4 years ago, was, I'm so proud to be English. And I think that highlights just what playing for his country means for him. I think Owen Farrell does see it as a kind of duty far above rugby. And the serious guy he is, and also the sense that people get from him, that he's this bulletproof, resilient character on a psychological level. I think that
I don't see that at all from him.
I totally see that. I think that is why it's come as more of a surprise that it's Owen Farrell.
There's 2 ways to look at it. So there's the bulletproof resilience because of that sort of shield that he puts up to everybody all the time. Now, his teammates don't think that. I know that. I know this because I've asked them. I mean, they always say that he's not like that. But it does strike me that he isn't that resilient, or else he would be talking to the press, and he would have a press profile above what he has.
Well, he's extremely private. And
shy. But there again, he does do media. So the answer is...
Shy is too simplistic way of looking at it.
Yeah. All they want is for him to talk. And some players, you think about a player, let me give you one who's not English or an England international currently. Someone like Mark Atkinson, I'll use him because I just love talking to the guy. And he'll give you everything, chapter and verse, about rugby. And you can get a really good conversation of him about rugby. And I've never heard Owen Farrell do that. And therefore, I think it leads particularly reporters to write their own story about him or put their own spin on things because they need something about the England captain.
Well, that's one of the interesting things. I was interested to see how you view this one as well, Phil, because Mark McCall has come out after the sort of dust had settled and everyone had their say initially about, that's a surprise and is this a wake-up call for rugby? Mark McCall said, yeah, everyone's talking about social media and absolutely what's happened there has been awful. However, this is mainstream media's doing. The things that they wrote, the narrative they laid out about Owen Farrell is not the man I know and have worked with for 15 years, and they are culpable. They are the reason this has happened.
What's the worst thing you've ever heard written about? I don't think
that he's a thug. He's nasty.
I'm not. You'd have to show me the quote because I'm not sure I would agree that the journalists that I know would ever write that. Actually, I think they. I could see it.
That he's a bully. That he's controlling.
These are things that I've read. I'm not sure.
There you go.
No, but I'm not sure I've read them from like Alex Lowe, or I'm not sure I've read them from Stephen Jones. I'm not sure I've read them from any journalist. To be fair.
But you can levy what you read, or you can listen to people that played with him, coached him, refereed him. There's a massive chasm between what people in the sport and outside of the sport say about Owen Farrell.
Do you know? Let's just go back to the Arundel thing, right? Because this is a classic example to me. Like, there could have been a bust-up, right? And that could be the reason that Arundel's not playing. And it would be better if they said, yeah, there's a bust-up, because Harry Arundel doesn't chase his kicks, and he needs to be chasing his kicks.
Yeah, but is that a bust-up, or is that a captain saying, do your job?
It depends how Arundel responded, doesn't it?
That wasn't how the bust-up in the England camp was portrayed.
But this is why we've always needed a bit more communication from Owen Farrell.
What, he needs to come out and say there
captain.
wasn't a bust-up and this is what happened?
He allows people...
No, I'm not having this.
He does. He allows people to write what they think rather than what they know, because you don't get enough information about him.
Farrell he was doing at least 2 press conferences a week during the World Cup.
But there's a difference between being open and giving the information. I've never really heard a great interview with him.
I think he always strikes the right notes in those press conferences. I've watched a lot of them, he doesn't give a lot away. Like he doesn't talk about where he's going on holiday and how he's feeling or anything.
Doesn't do any personal stuff,
anything like that. But he talks about what he wants to do, about winning games, about training hard, about playing hard, about how much it means. So if the press are looking for something else, then I mean, they should be looking for, like, England should be putting someone else forward. But
England should be putting. Yeah, I agree with that as well. England should be putting someone else.
But that's if the press wants something different. I think the problem with this is that, and this exact issue is representative of all Owen Farrell situations, because people feel so strongly towards him.
Yeah,
like some people really dislike him for various different reasons.
Me and JB.
A good example.
Perfect on this podcast. You're kind of in the middle. You see the good and the bad. JB hates him, and I love him.
Some people quite like him.
Yeah, some people really do dislike him, though. Like many fans of other nations, particularly.
Well, that's a compliment, isn't it?
And that is a compliment. But many England fans dislike him because he's not doing double miss passes out the back, and he's not doing the goose step and all that. Anyway. But Owen Farrell is a Marmite character, let's just say that. And this, it seems to be the same. Some people are saying, oh, no, it's the right thing to do. Some people are saying, no, nonsense, should never do this. And projecting what they believe is the reason onto that, which is kind of your point, JB, that he ends up being, for pros and cons, he ends up being a blank slate, where probably the reality is somewhere in between and somewhere much more understandable. And it was a point you made a few years ago, JB, which is for guys operating at this level in front of tens of thousands of people in a stadium and millions of people around the world watching them, who are week in, week out, month in, month out, playing at the highest level, it's actually not that surprising if some of these guys do have some mental health falters, particularly like Owen Farrell, who is, everyone who's ever coached him just talks about he is so driven and just wants to win. And he's had amazing success in his club rugby, and he's fallen short by millimetres in 2 back-to-back World Cups. He's been the final last time and the semi-final this time. It will be absolutely devastating for him as an individual to pick himself up. And he might have just said, with 2 young kids, I just need a bit more time. And I think that's probably closer to the truth than anything else. And that for me is, and this is probably where England or Owen or perhaps someone, they could help his case a little bit by just putting a bit more meat on the bones, because in that vacuum of information, everyone's projecting what they...
And in that vacuum, what I have mapped on, when I was out in France, and I talked about this on the podcast during the World Cup, I was really cheesed off with some England fans booing Owen Farrell. I just thought, I mean, fine.
Was it French fans?
Yeah, a lot of French fans were, but some England fans definitely were. I saw them doing it. So, but it was England, it was French fans, and they have a different culture there. It's a bit more like a football crowd, and that's fine. I don't have a problem. And I'm not getting too precious about a bit of booing, because if you want to express yourself booing at a game, I don't really have a problem with that. I don't like
stuff like that. Owen Farrell's been booed, taking kicks, winning games, losing games.
Yeah.
That will not.
People.
But I do
getting high shot
think
himself.
I do
all
think.
sorts.
But do you remember Andy Farrell just before the World Cup when we'd had about a week of this post Wales World Cup warm up match saga? We'd had about a week of it, and there was still no resolution from World Rugby, and there was all these talks. Oh, apparently they're going to be appealing the ban of the judicial thing.
World Rugby appealing the independent panel's ban.
And Andy Farrell never gets drawn. Much like Owen Farrell, he'll never get drawn on anything he doesn't want to talk about. I think for Andy Farrell to say the way he's been treated is disgusting. That was a quote from Andy Farrell. That's a big statement, and that indicates. And I thought World Rugby were absolutely shocking the way they just left this vacuum. You talk about vacuums being left. They left a vacuum with all this speculation and the vitriol, and it was just before a World Cup. And I'm amazed, frankly, the way that Owen Farrell didn't bite, never said anything, and then just got on with doing the job. I think that shows unbelievable resilience.
I mean, it wasn't good by World Rugby. I don't like this idea. It's like it's a catastrophe. It's the worst thing that's ever happened.
No, I'm not saying that.
I mean, he did have a bit of a history of high-shotting people, and this is the problem.
It.
There is definitely a story to be told here. It's like,
is it really that bad?
It's kind of,
when you actually crunch the numbers on it, it was nowhere near as bad as was made out, which is the point that's been made by Mark McCall, that the narrative and the reality are completely on different planets.
Awful, like the Troy Jackson one was like one of the worst ones I've ever seen.
Yeah, but it got really personal. It was a bad tackle. How many people make bad tackles and it's just that, well, that was stupid.
Yeah,
you got a ban.
And again.
But it's not
like
again.
Four of them, isn't there?
Yeah,
There's
four. Okay, he's been playing for 12, 13 years.
And this is the problem. It's like, I don't really care that much, right?
There
is definitely a case to answer. And to make it into like a per capita of time question, just doesn't work for me.
Jay, what I'm actually saying is, and I'm trying to say, this is what Mark McCall's point, and I think this perfectly highlights it. Is there a tackling technique issue which he had to solve? Yes. Does that make him an awful person? No. So I'm just pointing out that the narrative that is put out there, the thug that it's repeated, it's relentless, it's constant.
It is constant. It is relentless.
Okay.
But he's not a thug, right? You're giving the lowest common denominators in society so much power over the game by saying, look, they're saying thug. Who cares about what the commenters in the YouTube channel are saying, or on Twitter? I found out this the hard way. I've come off it, and it's just easier. The problem with Owen Farrell is like the death of a dragon by 1,000 cuts. Yeah, there is a question to answer on his tackle technique, and then you've got the issue of him not talking. Then you've got the issue of the press sort of grafting their own narrative onto him, and then you've got all these other bits, and each on their own is not a big deal. It's like you said, like per capita of minutes played, like, not a big deal. But then you add them all together and it does become a big deal.
It becomes personal.
In what respect?
For some weird reason.
In what respect?
Like, it goes beyond critiquing a rugby player's performance and it goes to something that's a bit more visceral and personal.
I'm not a fan of all rugby journalists by any stretch. But actually, the guys who do write, the actual rugby writers who just concentrate on rugby day in, day out, they would never call him a thug. I can imagine them quoting somebody else, but I don't think they would do it. Maybe I'm wrong. I can see one of the sports writers doing it. One of the generic sports correspondents.
Or the clickbait writers.
Yeah, or maybe the Wales Online, or someone who just completely...
Definitely, I can see Wales Online doing that.
And generally speaking, one thing I'm not comfortable with on this is that what seems to be coming up a lot is that something needs to be done about people saying nasty things on social media.
No, it doesn't.
I'm very uncomfortable with that because I just think actually it's on all of us to just ignore crap. We know what the line is when what Tom Foley talked about or what Wayne Barnes talked about. There's lines that are, but the line should be criminal, not hurty feelings. You should just ignore it,
because he's one of the very few times people actually care to talk about rugby. That might not all be positive, but he does get people talking. And it's very unfortunate that the person that gets everybody talking is a guy that hates talking himself. And that can't help. But yeah, when England play poorly, he has to shoulder some of the responsibility. And when he plays well, he gets some of the praise because that's his position. He's the leader, he's the fly half, he's the captain.
And I think he's first to put his hands up and say...
Yeah, I think he would say that too.
I think really do. I think that's one of the reasons why I like him, because he would never blame Henry Arundel or Ben Spencer in public.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
And it's not, and he's not the person that chose to play him 12 when some people didn't like that, and he's not the person that chose to play himself 10 when some people would have preferred Marcus Smith. As it is, I just think the bare facts speak for themselves. He is 6-time Premiership champion, 3-time European champion, European Player of the Year, 112 England caps, the most points ever scored by any England international in the history of rugby union, and only Dan Carter in international rugby in the history of the sport has ever scored more points. And if you just want to take pure facts and metrics, he's one of the greatest players ever to play the game. He is one of the greatest English players of all time, and I don't think he gets the respect for those bare facts. And I think we can probably agree that.
Well, I think he's quite good. So that's kind of the difference. I think he's quite good.
It's interesting. You said last week, or was it last week or 2 weeks ago, when Saracens battered Quins?
Yeah,
and you got behind Owen Farrell, and then a week later he announces his immediate retirement or postponing his international career.
A lot better than Marcus Smith. And there's the thing with him. I sort of oscillate between he's absolutely world class and he's quite good.
He was world class in a World Cup semi-final, and I don't know if there's many more. There's only one stage greater than that you can be world class in. So
he's very, very poor. And for Saracens, he is exceptional.
In 112 games, you're going to have a few stinkers.
Yeah, I prefer to look at I don't think Owen Farrell for England is nearly as impressive as Owen Farrell for Saracens. So I just don't. I think Owen Farrell for Saracens is legitimately world class, but there are other factors that go into that. So I don't know. The answer is I don't know. But again, because it's Owen Farrell. It's the reason this is a conversation. No one would care if it was...
Well, Joe Marler, there was nowhere near as much talk.
Joe Marler, great example.
We should jump around between rugby and other things going on. I hope it's not the last time we've seen him in an England shirt. I think he could be England's 10. Possibly should be England's 10 at the next World Cup.
Well, the other thing I thought about this when I saw the news was... Is he taking a leaf out of Dan Carter?
Bowden Barrett.
But yeah, Bowden Barrett has done it. Even Johnny Sexton. Now I know he's never had. I don't think he's ever had like a period, explicit sabbatical period, except when he's playing away for Leinster. Like he got to 37, 38.
Yeah, he has a sabbatical like 2 months of every season for Leinster.
Yeah. He's been managed so well, and Saracens don't have the facility to do that, particularly not at the moment, and particularly not. He carries a lot of responsibility for Saracens because he is currently one of their 2 marquee players, and next season will likely be their only marquee player. Therefore, he can't take a 6-month sabbatical.
Do you know that is another thing we want to keep an eye on? I'm serious about that, because under the old salary cap, where Saracens could do whatever they wanted.
The old salary cap.
The old one, right? And even the old one, you could have Owen Farrell and say, look, Owen, just concentrate on England because you're still valuable to us. And we'll go and win European Cups and whatnot. And don't worry, we've got other marquee players and we've got other ways of, making sure everyone's beak is nicely wetted.
Yeah, we're going to be bringing in a massive South African tight head prop.
Yeah.
And a couple of locks. And, don't worry, sir. Don't worry.
You're going to be fine, right? Now, his Saracens workload, they might just put it on the table to him. Look, we can still pay you this. And they obviously love him to bits. They obviously do, because they're going to potentially jettison one of their other favourite sons in order to keep him.
There is no way. I mean, maybe it's true. I'll say there's no way, but I would be absolutely flabbergasted if Owen Farrell chose cash over playing for England.
I'm not saying he's choosing cash. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that his Saracens workload is about to go through the roof. And that's a very different thing. So he does have 2 responsibilities.
Okay,
right?
I'll say I would be flabbergasted if he chose club rugby over playing for England.
Disagree.
Well, because I thought about that because the figures that were reported for Mario Toji and Owen Farrell were 700, 800, 900k. That kind of money. That's certainly what he would go for in France or elsewhere. His England, if he plays 10 games a season, he's on a third of that from England. Yeah. So actually, from a cash,
that's what I mean. I'd be surprised if he chose cash.
No. But if he feels like he can only do one thing, one thing pays him. So between the two, he gets £1 million.
Yeah.
One thing pays a quarter of that. One thing pays 75% of that. His loyalty will actually, weirdly, be more to Saracens because they pay him 3 times more in any given year.
But it's not only that.
I think I would only say he's doing it to extend his England career. So it's not like he's disloyal to England.
Yeah.
In fact, he's extending his loyalty because he feels like he can do that for longer if he's careful.
Yeah, it's not even that, I would say. I think it's even more fundamental, which is his reputation, his worldwide reputation is based on his England performance, but what got him there was Saracens. Mm-hmm. And I think when you say, I wouldn't choose Saracens over anything else, well, you've seen what Saracens means to, say, Jamie George and Theo Dan. After a World Cup match, okay, third place, they're talking about the score for Saracens. And we've mentioned on the podcast, they love playing for Saracens. Mm-hmm. Which is why they're all still there after the salary cap stuff. A lot of the guys who came through the academy and the system there are still at Saracens. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if it's like, okay, well, I've got to make a choice. You know,
does he have to make a choice, though?
Yeah, because what he'll be saying to one of his other mates, one of the guys who he's come up with, is like, you've got to go. But if you've got to go for me to stay here, then I've got to make sure that I really put in the effort. Because that's a big commitment. Otherwise, it'd be a decent thing to say, look, let me go, because I can't put in that effort.
Mm-hmm. And you can bring through 5 players for the money that I'm on.
Yeah. I think, again, it's just based on what I see from the outside, and maybe I'm mapping on what I think about Owen Farrell, that he's like playing for his country is the ultimate. And like I said, it really sent a little shiver down my spine when he said, I'm proud to be English. It wasn't proud to play for England, it was English. That would surprise me, but I could see the fact that go back 4 years, heartbreaking World Cup final defeat, COVID, which was a horrible time to be a rugby player, the salary cap stuff.
It's a great time to be a rugby player.
Another awful, heartbreaking World Cup exit, and all of the crap that goes on in between with, basically, between World Cups, nobody wanted him to be in the... Well, very few people seemed to want to be... It would have appeared to him that very few people wanted him to even be playing for England, and he was like the he was like the totem for Eddie Jones and Steve Borthwick.
I think that's exactly right, because they made him they also made him the totem. But as for him stepping down from England, I know you guys are not a massive fan of it. I am. I think graveyards are full of it indispensable men. And the next guy will wear the shirt, and they'll do perfectly okay.
Well, with that, let's talk about the fact that you had the 2 guys you'd imagine are going to be fighting for that jersey in a couple of months' time, going head-to-head. And, I mean, it was... Well,
not good.
It was beat down Boulevard, but not the AJ Bell.
Yeah, tell you what, there should be alarm bells going off at Sale Sharks. I did manage to. This was the only game I managed to watch any substantial part of, and Sale Sharks very unusually were out enthused in the physicality. So Harlequins were flying off the line. They were smashing them everywhere, which is very nice to see. But the more concerning thing was the play of the 10s. So we all know that Marcus Smith isn't fit to lace Owen Farrell's boots after he just could not lay a glove on him in the London Derby. But what does that say about George Ford? Because George Ford was not good. He just was not good. I mean, yeah, he just wasn't. Sale got absolutely spanked. I can't really think of a more comprehensive beating.
Sale have had 2 absolute humpings this season.
Yeah,
Exeter and Quins, and they're top of the table with a negative points difference,
-16,
which is bonkers.
Which is unheard of.
Yeah, they should be worried, because there's obviously a chink in the armour, and I'm starting to wonder: is this a case of like styles in the Premiership are going to be really important? I've mentioned this before, so some teams will just naturally match up really poorly against others. So even if you're high up in the table, your style might not be very good for...
Every team's style will match up quite well against Newcastle.
Yes, with the exception of Newcastle. Everyone else is, it's a bit of a lottery. That said, they've lost 2 games to 2 completely different teams. So what does that say about their style? Harlequins and Exeter.
You'd think that Sale's style would match up nicely against Quins as well.
Well, judging by what...
physicality up front.
Judging by what Saracens did to them, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Quins are good, Quins are legitimately good. Except for the fact that Saracens will batter them.
Yeah, losing 2 on the bounce, getting hammered by Saracens.
But beating Leicester at Welford Road.
Yes, in a good game as well. A proper arm wrestle. Yeah.
Who then went and lost badly this weekend.
In terms of England watch from that game, obviously Marcus Smith was much, much better.
I wonder if you're going to go with the guy that I... Go on.
Caden Murley.
Oh, that's not where I was going.
It's good to see him playing again and looking sharp.
The other guy who I'm excited about for Quins, ex-London Irish fella,
Will Joseph?
No, Chandler.
Oh, Chandler Cunningham South starting
yeah.
at 6. Yeah, I mean he's got England. He's got future England international written all over him, hasn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Plays. I mean he's a natural number 8. I think he even. It might be too early for the Six Nations, but with the lack of natural number 8s in a style that Steve Borthwick would want, because Alex Dombrandt, when he had the chance, wasn't great at international level.
He's just not.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
He could be, but you'd have to play. You'd have to engineer a team to meet that.
You have to
that
play
style.
Yeah, you'd have to play in the Premiership. He could be, but no. I don't know what the answer is. Cunningham South does look good though. I mean, he is.
Big
He's one of
strong
those
boy.
guys that when he is involved in an intervention, things happen. Like he rips the ball.
He's still 20 or 21.
He's not that old. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel he was 20 when I watched him a few years ago.
He was in the under-20s World Cup this year.
This year.
Was he?
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
think he is 20.
so I think he's 20. I've just looked him up. He will be 21 in March.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
So, yeah.
that guy's a
So he is
proper
still
talent.
20.
him.
So he's got plenty of time. So let's not go get the kids in, starting for England now. Let's give him a couple of years bedding in Premiership, prove himself. But he's one definitely to have on the radar.
Well, there was a guy who I said looks out of shape and will do nothing.
Alfie Barbary.
Who did something this
He did.
this
Yeah.
week?
Well, but just before we go on to him, there are two other
Yeah, go
young
on.
lads who played in that game. One who played a couple of weeks ago and scored a try. Quinn's reserve hooker, Nathan Jibulu, who came off the bench, who is he's 20 as well. And Sale Sharks, he was getting some compliments from Joe Marler, Sale Sharks reserve tight head prop, who came on early because of the injury to Nick Shonut. Asher Opoku for Joe, who Marler was talking up, looks very good. And if you look through his highlights playing for England under 20s,
Great try from about 35 metres out.
Yeah, running over
Bounce the
multiple
player off and then gassed in. Yeah.
running over multiple people against Ireland. Two-handed player. They're very, very young, particularly for front rowers. But with the right experience, and they can definitely get it in those two teams, could be handy.
Yeah. One to forget for Sale.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what they do next. I mean, they'll go and win something, I assume. But yeah, it's worrying for that.
It's going into Europe.
Oh, is it Europe this week?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to look at the lineups, but I don't hold up much hope for any English teams.
No, it was interesting that some English teams did kind of rotate a little bit.
Yeah.
Sale didn't really.
No.
Nothing significant. It's a strong Sale team. So, and it was a pretty strong Quinn's team as well. So yeah, we'll see how they go next week.
Yep. And another great, what we're talking, the impressive performances of the weekend, Northampton Saints. That was a good win against Saracens.
It
Yeah.
was.
Courtney Laws rolling back the years. Oh, man, it pains me. No Owen Farrell or
Right, can I
Courtney
tell you
Laws in
what's
the
going on
England
at
team.
Northampton this week?
Yes, please.
They are making their players do an equity, diversity and equality course. To which I've seen the slides to this. And it is unclear to me, because I've made the phone calls, it is mandated by somebody, right? Somebody is pulling the strings, mandating this. If Northampton Saints do not complete this equity, I mean, it's not even equality anymore, it's equity that they want to teach the boys, right? If they don't complete this course, they get fined. Oh, you're right there, Tim?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And Northampton seems to say it is mandated by the RFU, and the RFU say speak to Northampton. And I cannot get a straight answer. Who is demanding that Northampton... I mean, why does Lewis Ludlam or Alex Mitchell need to know about... I mean, particularly as a rugby player, equity as a rugby player. I mean, it's the least equal sport in the planet. I mean, if you're 5'2" playing second row against someone who is nearly 7 foot, it will not be an equal outcome. And this is the idea of the game, isn't it? We want to make the situation as... Maybe that's why they need to learn it. We want the situation to be as unequal as possible before we enter this fight. That's the only thing that I can possibly think.
So it's upskilling them on...
It is upskilling them, yeah.
Positional strategy.
Yeah, in the same way that I went to learning difficulties school. And when they gave us training so we could better deal with certain kids with special learning difficulties, we just became expert bullies because we knew all the weaknesses. It is exactly the same principle.
Well, just on that, we might get into this a little bit later, or maybe on a Patreon pod, or maybe on a different pod. But did you see the RFU reports and accounts released this year?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I wanted to know what you made of them, because here's what I saw. I read it, and then I read it again. It's like, what exactly is this? Is this telling me a good story or a bad story? Because you read it, and it reads like, whoa, everything's great. And then at the very end goes, yeah, we've got some pretty awful years to come, so brace yourself.
Yeah, it's hard to know, because they present the financial statements, as if they're making this inordinate amount of profit. So this is from the group profits and loss account. Revenue, 220 million, up from 190 million.
Well, that's good.
Gross profit, 176 million.
Got to talk into the mic, mate.
Okay.
Gross profit, 176 million. Gross profit.
I mean, that's
176 million.
It's quite a lot, isn't it?
And then you go,
hang on. That's okay. So we've covered the women's game. That's the first 22 million done.
And then you go, overhead expenses, which will be things like staff and running Twickenham and all the rest of it, 73 million.
Yep.
And then rugby investment.
Oh, spending.
103 million. And then you get to the actual operating profit, 4 million.
Right.
And
that's different.
The rugby investment is...
Can't wait to find out what this is.
Well, it's... Some of the things could be classed on the investment side, potentially. But included in the rugby investment is operating the men's and women's rugby teams. That's not a rugby investment. That's just expenses. That is just operating costs.
Yeah. Well, how would they... I mean, I guess they could say, well, look, we are investing into these teams to inspire future generations, or... I don't know.
Yeah. But it's not... It's a cost.
Yeah.
It's not an investment. Like, paying Maro Itoje £25,000 a game, or it might be £19,000 post-COVID, but whatever it is, a 5-figure sum in a game, that's not an investment.
No.
But hold on. I guess the important thing is to work out, they won't pay tax on that amount, though, will they? That will come off as a cost before taxes and stuff are taken off. So they're only being taxed basically on £4 million. Is that what I'm taking from that?
Yes. Yeah.
However, this is a good point, right? Because it doesn't matter if it's investment or a cost.
Yeah. It's an expense. Whether it's it's just not an investment.
It's just an expense.
So it's a terminology that they use, because this winds me up no end.
Because you sort of think, oh, that's a lot of 4G pitches and floodlights and community development officers and schemes. No. It's
So
like a lot of money for England players.
I hate to beat an old drum, but when they talk about investing and they get investing mixed up with spending, it really annoys me.
Yeah.
So invest in women's rugby. No. Spend on women's rugby. It's fine to do it, but you got to tell me it's spending. It's not investing.
Yeah, that is precisely what is happening here. So it's 100 million of profit before rugby investment. Rugby investment, 99 million.
By the way, how do you make a profit? Okay, this is a serious question. How do you make a profit as a rugby organisation before you paid for any of the rugby?
Of the rugby, yes.
The actual thing. Yeah. So my gross profit as a sweet manufacturer before I made a single sweet. But
you've sold all the sweets at this point.
Sold them all.
Sold all the sweets at this point.
But the other part that sounds like good news is they have no debt and have wiped and have some
good
100 million odd in cash.
Yeah, good cash reserves. I can't remember if there's no debt.
So if they're making rugby investments,
sheet.
you could legitimately make it from cash reserves, couldn't you? Because it's going to pay you back anyway.
It will pay you back in kind.
Yeah,
it's an investment.
It's investment. That's where the rugby investment.
But they shouldn't have cash reserves, because cash is a depreciating asset, especially with inflation at the minute. They should invest. They should invest.
Where should they invest their money, boys?
They should be getting straight on the phone to Beardmore financial advisors.
Yeah. So weirdly, I met someone in Neil actually in Dubai Sevens, and he goes, "Oh, world famous podcaster." Well, okay, thank you very much. And also, Beardmore. I was like, that's not really a name. It's
Beardmore Cubed.
Yeah, it's Beardmore and Co. Independent Financial Advisors. But Beardmore does sound slightly better.
No, the reason I brought that up was because you were talking about equality, diversity, and inclusion.
Essential.
If you read Tommy Lieb's statement as chair of the board,
Oh God,
there is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 9 paragraphs. 7 of those paragraphs are just, they don't tell you anything. Thanks to fellow board members, welcome new board members, working with the board members, thanks to the board members, working with the council, the board will continue. That is the lines from 7 of them. 2 of those paragraphs, so 7 say nothing at all. 2 of them are about the negatives in our game.
Oh please, yes.
So this will be about clubs going bust, presumably. Surely that's going to be mentioned. That'll be
clubs going bust. So the
top line.
So there are 2 paragraphs. The second of those paragraphs is presumably the second biggest problem in our game, which is sadly 3 Premiership clubs went into administration.
That's the second biggest problem.
That's the second biggest problem according to.
I think we should start referring to that as 4 because if there was if they'd actually got the promotion relegation thing like they should, then it would be 4.
Hang on, Tim. Maybe the first biggest problem is Jersey going out of business. So you've just jumped the gun there.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, 3 Premiership rugby clubs went into administration, which means the biggest problem is Jersey. No, not the biggest problem is Jersey. The biggest problem, want to guess?
Oh, what is the biggest problem?
People singing Swing Low at Twickenham. No, it will be participation numbers dropping.
No,
It'll
not
be
mentioned.
The fact that we hate everything about the RFU and the high tackle law.
No, not mentioned.
Bill Sweeney got another pay rise.
Not mentioned on this, but it is mentioned later. We can talk about that later. That
Okay.
Bill Sweeney's
What are the things that
£16,000 pay rise?
Is it the fact they've done a terrible deal with CVC? Is it that?
No,
Is it the fact
no,
that
neither of those
is it the
things.
fact that they're trying to replace income with capital, and it's never been done in the history of the world? Is that one of the things?
Not one of the things.
What is it? What could this thing?
Social media, then.
Not social media.
Not social
There is
media.
praise for
Oh,
their own social media later in the report.
Yeah. So is it the fact that social media is responsible, at least partly, for the retirement, at least partly, of the England captain?
No. Do you want to know?
Go on.
This past season threw up a number of issues in relation to discrimination at all levels of the game, as bravely highlighted by Luther Burrell.
Oh, really? Highlighted by Luther Burrell?
That is...
Highlighted by Luther Burrell. Why don't we ask some questions about why that report never came to light, shall we, boys? Newcastle and the RFU did a rather in-depth sort of report on this, which weirdly never came to light. I wonder why that would be. Is it because the claims were nowhere near what they seemed to be? But please, Tom, please.
I don't know that, but I'd love to see a report if there was one.
No. You won't see the report.
I'd love to read the report.
Because the things that I have been told that went on, which would have to be in that report, would not be pretty reading, and they're not what you think in any way, shape, or form.
I'm not kind of being flippant around discrimination and discrediting that or denying that there is any discrimination, even though it's not something that any of us are aware of or see. But for that to be for the president's report, the chair of the board report to be 7 paragraphs of nothing, no information, and 2 paragraphs on the issues, and to pick the issues of being 3 Premiership clubs going bankrupt, and then the primary issue to be discrimination, it's just...
We live
frustrated.
It's somebody else's priorities, isn't it? This is what's important to Tom O'Loob. It's not important to anybody else. It's just important to Tom O'Loob. In the same,
we can't say anybody else, but yeah,
it's not to no one else.
Look, what he's referring to, the list of problems that we've got is absolutely crazy. I just say that discrimination is the number one problem. When 4 of you tell somebody, right, who lost their job at Wasps or can't get a contract at Jersey, or the fans that don't have any rugby to watch because their teams no longer exist, you tell them that the biggest problem was discrimination, and they'll laugh in your face. You know,
it's just a different world to the one that we see.
He only cares about his own priorities, because at the end of the day, when he leaves this role, he'll fly the flag of the things which he's done, and he came in for this particular role. All the press releases were championed because this is what he was going to do, and from what I can tell, he has done absolutely nothing to further the cause of rugby. In the same way, Bill Sweeney does absolutely nothing to further the cause of rugby. In fact, any of these so-called professional administrators do anything to further the cause of rugby.
Well, can we talk about some rugby, please?
Well, I mean, this is the RFU, Tim. This is the RFU's actual report.
They did one last thing from me, and it's only a minor technical thing, but this report is for financial year ending 30th of June 2023. So it counts for everything up to end of June 2023, which all of the reports, all of the documentation is pre-World Cup. And yet, in the CEO's review of the year, he celebrates up to year-end 2023. Year-end June 2023. He celebrates Wayne Barnes, Carl Dixon, Matthew Carley, and Tom Foley and Luke Pearce making World Cup history as the first match officials lineup appointed from one union. He's celebrating something that happened in the future from when he wrote this CEO's review of the year statement. He can just copy and paste that into next year's review if he still has a job.
Can I just say, I'll let him off on that one.
I know,
because I do think that is a legitimate thing to be proud of.
It's a great thing to be proud of. It's just, it's not in this time. Like,
yeah,
it's the different time frame he's talking about, and it's the kind of thing that I find funny or annoys me. But it's no one else would be bothered.
Yeah. We should be very, very proud of our referees. In fact, I think
we should be proud. The point is a good one because the English referees are absolutely superb, the best in the world from what we have repeatedly seen.
So, is Stade Francais Vitellouz the game that's going to earn your support as a supporter, JB?
It
then?
would be if I could be bothered enough with it this week. Yeah, that was the plan, but I'm not invested enough to make a decision yet. But I think.
So, in other words, you've seen the score and you want...
I have no idea what the score is.
It's 20 points to 5 to Stade Francais at half-time.
Oh, is it?
Oh, in the second half.
I was going to say, because I was sort of edging towards Stade.
That's cool. Well, my beloved Bayonne got a good win against Montpellier, who are in trouble.
And my beautiful Bordeaux won away at Oyonnax.
They did. Do you see how they won? Bizarre. So
I've seen the Biel Barry.
Yes, so they were 22-23 down in the dying moments.
Yeah.
Penalty kick on about halfway to try and win the game. It fell short, but the Oyonnax fullback, I think it was, spilled the ball catching it, and
the 10 was offside.
The 10 was offside, went to play it but didn't, and Biel Barry just managed to dot down.
Tired of ads interrupting your favorite show? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Download the Amazon Music app or visit amazon.com/ad-free sports. That's amazon.com/ad-free sports to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of ACAST shows ad-free for Prime members. Some shows may have ads.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds, owner and user of Mint Mobile. And I am recording this message on my phone. I'm literally on my Mint phone. Why? Because fancy recording studios cost money. And if we spent money on things like that, we couldn't offer you screaming deals. Like if you sign up now for 3 months, you get 3 months free on every one of your plans, even unlimited. Visit mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time new customer offer. Activate within 45 days. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. Unlimited customers using more than 40 gigabytes per month will experience lower speeds. Video streams at 480p. See mintmobile.com for details.
Right under the posts, and they got the win. Yeah.
Did
Damien Penaud got another 2 tries, having got 4 last week?
Yeah.
4 last week?
Yeah. 4 on his home debut. 4 in the first half on his home debut.
It's quite a nice wing pairing of Biel Barry and Penaud.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
The Premiership teams are in trouble when they finally
it's Europe.
Go to Europe.
It's Europe this week as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end.
As for Premiership, and if we get back to the rugby, but let's linger on, not wanting to linger on negatives, but it just flows nicely when you're talking about financial factors. What's the point in Newcastle?
As you know what, I'd been thinking about Newcastle this week, and I really wanted them to put in a good performance, and I really wanted to be telling a This is it. Newcastle might get some bad results, but it could actually be good for the league to have young guys getting exposure to the highest level, and then they can go off. Newcastle won't stop them from going off and furnishing the other team, so you've got more players coming into circulation. But after watching that, I mean, the first 10 minutes they battled well.
Yeah, they were good.
And then it just all fell apart, and far too easy, far too soft around the driving maul. Unable to get territory or control the ball for more than a few phases, and just suffocated. So, yeah, kind of, if it's going to be like that, what is the point?
And the way that the coach Alex Codling spoke after the game, it's like, yeah, I'm going to back the boys, I'm going to stay positive, but it was resignation.
And it was blaming the club.
Yeah.
It was say, like,
they've got
surely he knew, like, surely he knows what's going on. It's not new to him that they're not spending money, they're letting their players go.
Yeah, well, there's no incentive for them. If they don't have the money to spend, there's no incentive to find the money because they're not getting relegated.
Yeah.
So the owners are just keeping hold of their Premiership shares and just existing.
If you raise this to head of media at Newcastle, you say, well, what is the point in you guys? You know, it's going to be a joke. Well, we're just being sustainable. That's what they'll say. We're just sustainable, which
Well, I mean,
is right.
Well, the system is allowing that to be the case.
It makes an unsustainable league.
It does.
It makes an uncompetitive league. It makes it boring.
But it also
sustainable.
How many people turn off after 20 minutes of that match?
That's exactly our point.
Yeah.
It's exactly our point, Tim.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this has to come. When the salary cap goes up, there needs to be some serious thought about forcing teams to spend more money. But of course, you can't, can you? You can't ask owners to separate even more money than what they've already done, knowing full well that you can't get any more owners in because CVC deal will effectively prevent that.
It was an interesting one after Alex Codling had his chat and the guys on TNT started having a chat. Craig Doyle, he was just spitballing. He was like, does something need to be done? Do we need to get them some money or something? Like it would be the best thing for the game to invest some of the game's money in giving Newcastle
Rugby
some
investment.
Bail them out. But I just...
Well, Newcastle is of strategic importance because of its location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And having your most northerly club be in Manchester isn't a great look, is it?
No.
I mean, that is a real problem. So you might make the argument that giving money to Newcastle is a good idea. But I'd say no, it's not.
But then if you were an owner of another club who's making a loss, you'd be like, where's mine?
Well, it's the same as I say about the women's game. Support yourself. Support yourself. Find the owners that want to support your game. Don't ask for handouts continuously under the guise of investment. But if you want to just say spend it on Newcastle, spend it on Newcastle.
Well, that is what's happening. The clubs are choosing to spend the money on the women's teams, which is fine. That's
no,
what
they're not. They are.
Are they forced to?
They are being subtly forced. I mean, it's not explicit, but there are subtle games at play making them do this. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know anything about that, but that's for another day. But Newcastle, it's not even worth talking about the game.
No.
Leicester were Leicester. Newcastle were Newcastle.
Don't even know the score. What was the score?
47-3.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it was a training run for Leicester. Got some good line out and maul practice in. Couple of nice tries later on. It's a nice line by Matt Scott.
If you're just going to go by the scoreline, did Bath have a training run against Exeter?
Slightly less so. 47-3 is different to whatever it was, 40-20. But actually more of a one-sided game was Bristol-Gloucester.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Gloucester
that's the
did
other
not
concern.
turn up in the first half. Gloucester were, other than Reece Summit, who did look good, Gloucester were woeful.
Right.
Until the last
so you may not
minutes.
have seen these games and stuff. Do you have a guess? There was a person scored for Bristol who is now Bristol's highest ever try scorer. Guess, because you won't have seen this.
Highest ever
try scorer, or is it highest Premiership try scorer?
He scored for Bristol.
Scored for Bristol to become their highest ever try scorer. Possibly caveat in the Premiership.
Not
Richard Lane.
No, he's only been playing there a year or so.
A couple of years, yeah.
Hang on. So, who?
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the scorers in front of me.
Let's see if JB can guess without looking at the scorers. I'll go through some of the players that played. So it's not going to be Max Malins, is it? Because he's only been there a little while. Gabriel Libertoy, only been there a little while. Vakatawa just joined.
Unlikely.
Janty van Rensburg just
Unlikely.
joined. Sheedy. Randall. Thomas, Harding, Luatua, Batley, Dunn, Sinclair, Genge, Thacker.
Thacker.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. In the Premier... Now, does this speak to the fact that Bristol are sort of very sporadically not in the Premiership?
Possibly. Yeah, they spent big chunks of time outside of the Premiership, yeah.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah. Because they've had some phenomenal try scorers, like...
Lemmy.
Lemmy was the one I was going to go for, yeah. Vondell. Vondell was bagging tries for fun, even at Bristol. They had the Orscott brothers come through there.
No, Exeter produced them.
They didn't? Oh, did they?
Yeah, Exeter produced them, and then they went to Bristol and Newcastle.
No, Bristol produced them. Then they went
to... No, is it the other way around? Oh, no, I think you're right. They came through at Bristol, and then...
Yeah, went to
one went to Exeter, one went to Newcastle.
Yeah, one is at Sale, one's at Leeds for a little while, the one's at Bath for a little while.
Anyway, yeah.
Just trying to think of who else there might have been.
No, they were down there. I'm sure they were down in Plymouth, Exeter way. I'm sure that was they were down there.
I was starting to think you're right now. No, I think they came from...
No, Bristol, yeah. Plymouth, Luke Arscott came from Plymouth Albion.
Oh, there you go.
So I reckon Tom might have come from Exeter.
I think they were both in Bristol somehow.
Anyway, those are names I haven't heard in a while, but...
That's why you listen to the podcast. Get your regular Arscott news.
Gloucester were really, really poor.
Yeah.
Particularly in that first half. And Bristol, when they're given space, as they were given, and they can get their offloading game in, Bristol look really good. But it was on the back of Gloucester being very
I know
poor.
Gloucester are getting a hiding, right? I know they are. And they're not good. And people who support Gloucester are not happy with them.
Yeah.
I still believe in Gloucester.
Yeah, and I like Skivington as well.
Yeah, I still believe in Skivington.
And I think they've got some good players.
But it is bad enough that Alex Brown, CEO, came out and wrote an apology to the fans. He said, we're trying our hardest, please bear with us.
Well, are they trying their hardest? Because one of the concerning things which has happened this week is Jack Singleton has left the club. And he's gone to Toulon. Now, it was Stephen Jones writing a defence of Owen Farrell. We won't rehash that. But he said something about, look at the amount of players that are not available for England selection because they chose to leave. And I thought, hang about, Stephen, have you been listening to our podcast again? And in particular, me? Because this is exactly what I predicted would happen. The hollowing out of the game. And the lads that he listed are legitimate England, I wouldn't say stars, but certainly potential stars. So Arundel... Willis.
Yeah,
Arundel's situation is different.
Arundel and Willis, their situation is different because their clubs went bump.
Yes. But this is all part of the process. They've still ended up there. In fact, it's just a quickening of the process, if anything.
So that did, but they were given the Premiership. You've got two clubs who can afford you. They've only got 50k left in your cap, or you can go to Toulouse or Racing for 250k. 50k to stay in England, 250k. The ones that are more concerning are the likes of the Simmons boys, Luke Carandicki first time, although obviously he ended up back in the Prem. Joe Marchant, particularly, Jack Noel, those guys.
I mean, Kieran Brooks.
Yeah, David Ribbons.
So, again, as usual, Rob Baxter always has the answer to stuff, and he pointed out last year one of the issues that led to some of his Exeter players going, and I think this would be where Jack Singleton falls, who has only gone as a medical joker, by the way, to Toulon, but you never know where that might end up. Anyway, Rob Baxter said the issue is you only get the England cash if you play for England. Yeah. So if you're not the first choice or you're not sort of guaranteed first choice, it's feast or famine. You get all of it or none of it. Yeah. And Jack Singleton would be looking at it and going, I might get in the squad, I might get a bench spot, but actually chances are I'll be a member of the squad, in which case I won't get the money.
So if you remember, my premise of this, or my central thrust was, what will happen in the future is that England will be, they'll have less players to choose from but the players they do finally choose,
Fewer.
like the chosen few, the chosen fewer, will be less available for their clubs. So you'll have these clubs which are hollowing out because the Jack Singletons have left.
Well,
but yet
that's less true with 10 Premiership teams.
It'd be more true, wouldn't it?
No, less true because they won't miss as many club games.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but
you could
more
play,
players. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you play 10 games for England, you could play 20 club games.
Yeah.
Which is your full regular season plus a couple of games in Europe, and most of the English teams won't play more than a couple of games in Europe.
So you're going to have a lot. Well, the problem is the salary cap, unless it goes up substantially, more and more of it will be dedicated to England players who will not be playing for England.
Yeah.
Sorry, will not be playing
for their club.
Which
means they're less valuable to the club, even though the clubs need them because they need the England stars.
Yeah, and they can't afford the other people.
Well, we know that the salary cap's going up next year, and we're seeing evidence of the salary cap going up next year because RG Snyman is heavily linked with the move to Bath for best part of £500,000. Which in the current salary cap, because he wouldn't be able to be a marquee player, or him and Finn Russell couldn't be.
Only one of them.
Only one of them can be. So in the current salary cap structure, that would be RG Snyman having almost 10% of the entire budget for the whole squad.
He's a hell of a player. He's one of those few players of that size because he is absolutely enormous. Guys like Will Skelton and others. But he's had long-term knee issues.
He's played 10 games total for Munster in 2 years.
It's perhaps not the wisest way to spend your money.
This is what you've got to do.
But he's incredibly useful if you can get him fit for long periods of time.
Yeah, it's exactly what you got. So you'll end up with... You won't be able to afford an RG Snyman with a clean injury record because he'll be playing for Toulouse. But you might be able to scrape 10% of your entire salary cap and get the injured version. And that's where we're going to... And just hope for the best. You're going to have to take some serious risks. Anyway, so Stephen Jones highlighted this. I don't think he meant to, but this is exactly what is going on. Exactly what's going on. And it's just going to make the Premiership a weaker product. As it makes it a weaker product, it's going to be harder to raise cash, so on and so forth. It is... We're midway through... This process of the destruction of rugby is actually happening much quicker than I thought it would. Much, much quicker. I said 5 years, I think it's 3 years.
Well, on the destruction of rugby, shall we park the legal papers and the naming of the players in the concussion thing? Should we park that into a Patreon pod?
Oh, you can do, yeah.
Yeah.
Can do.
We could touch on it in a bit. But as for actual rugby, there was... Okay, so I've said this before. I'm just not as excited by the Premiership, and I want to be, and I'm trying to be. I was impressed with how Bath played.
Yeah, I think it's worth talking about Bath.
I was really impressed by Harlequins. I thought Saracens-Northampton was a legitimately excellent game. Saracens rested a few players at home, a few of their big guns. Northampton played really, really well. Courtney Lawes at the forefront of it. So there is some good rugby to talk about in the Premiership for all of the issues that we've been raising.
Well, let's talk about Bath, 'cause I am actually excited about Bath. Not only am I excited about Bath, I'm excited for Bath and their fans. They remind me a little bit of Worcester in this respect, which is what I always liked about Worcester as a club is as soon as they got a few wins together, they'd get loads of fans. And, because it
feels like a massive backhanded compliment or hidden insult.
Bath have had a sold-out wreck, win, lose, draw.
Yeah, but now they're winning. And the atmosphere which you're hearing at the wreck and that excitement around the wreck, I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, if these boys start winning, they might be able... I mean, this sounds mental, but maybe they could turn a profit. Maybe they could... Because it's going to be a Gloucester or a Bath or someone with an attendance which is getting their fan base really excited, which hopefully is going to lead the Premiership, if it's possible. The only way the Premiership can survive is to lead itself out using the matchday experience. So to see the wreck absolutely bouncing and getting excited about Bath means we should all be excited for Bath, really.
And it is good to see Bath playing this kind of rugby.
Yeah,
they've tried it before. They've brought fly halves in before that haven't worked as well. Like only a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, Danny Cipriani coming in was going to change them, and it ended catastrophically badly. Now, some of us might have predicted that was a possibility when he signed. But Finn Russell is the real deal. He's allowing them to play in the way that he wants to play, and he's got some talent around him. So like Ajomo and Redpath in the centres is awesome.
They are awesome, aren't they?
And then getting the best out, like
possibly Henry Arundel next year, because Joe Thockensinger's contract's up and it's thought he's moving on. Henry Arundel's on their radar. I
hate saying this because I've been saying bad things about Thockensinger for a long time. He seems to be thriving at the moment.
He does.
Well, a lot of players when they have contracts up, we've seen it with Mario Itoje. Interestingly, when they don't have.
He's got no threat.
They have a contract to play for.
He is the number one now. There's no Anthony Watson to sort of, he wasn't there last year, in fairness, but there's no Watson there. He is the main man. And if Finn Russell can put him in space, but not just Finn Russell, Redpath, Ajomo, Lawrence.
Ben Spencer is a great ball player.
Ben Spencer is a great ball player. The player that impressed me most from Bath, Sam Underhill.
Yeah.
He looks like old school Sam Underhill.
Mega.
And I hate saying it because, touch wood, I just don't want it to get injured again. Because without Curry, without Laws, and now without Ben Earl, we need Sam Underhill.
Yeah. And
big ask.
Ludlam will be unavailable from next year as well.
Yeah.
He's another one like a Marchant or like a Simmons who is going without the catastrophic failure of a Premiership club going into administration or liquidation.
But is Barbary? I mean, we've been saying he hasn't been playing very well. There are opportunities in that England back row for players who step forward in the next couple of weeks. And I was just looking at Bath fixtures. They're home to Ulster and away to Cardiff. They could be an English team with 2 wins.
They're 2 winnable games.
Yeah, potentially. So just on Barbary, his first try from the base of a maul. Fine, good.
Yeah.
His second try was illegal.
Was he in front of...
yeah, I'm sure he was.
I'm trying to think which game it was. It was one of the
Leinster Wasps. And Sean Cronin picks up the ball. He's ahead of the ball, picks it up in a ruck, goes underneath the posts, and then Wasps get smashed.
No, so that wasn't the game I was thinking of. It was the Bristol-Gloucester game this week, where... the referee, I can't remember who the referee was talking about exactly that problem. And then slightly later, there was a bit of a weird one with Joe Batley where Luatua and Thacker drove through a ruck, which created an opening for Batley to pick up. But that was legal. It was slightly different to this. Not like the Cronin one. The angle that I saw of the Barbary, couldn't quite tell.
Yeah,
whether he's in front of the ball when he picked it up or not.
I don't really care. He's out there making things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Which he hasn't been doing earlier this season, and he is one of those players. When he was, it was a few years ago. I remember them playing Wasps playing Toulouse, and he was just throwing boys off him for fun.
I do wonder if he's good enough. I've got a real question mark. Is he good enough?
We will only know if we see it, and we'll only see it if he gets a consistent run without injury.
He does.
Hopefully he does.
He has always seemed, when he was fit and firing, he always seemed like there wasn't a stage that was too big for him.
What do you think we're looking at, though, with him? Do you think he's like a...
I wanted to go back to being a hooker. I've said this a few times.
Yes, agreed on that. Is he a more bustling version of Ben Earl? Just all action, all everywhere, not an expert, but can't leave him out of the team?
He's bigger than Ben Earl. Like... considerably, maybe not taller, but he's considerably broader and bigger and heavier.
Yep.
He could be more, I want to say more like a Pickamoles type. Like not
big enough.
Not saying he's a Pickamoles, but he's just that power through contact. That ability to kind of get half stopped and then just keep powering through.
Yeah, he's got sort of...
But he's not super fast or anything.
No,
he's not super fast.
He's explosive.
Visa
maybe, but he's
similar body size and shape. Similar.
Yeah,
Visa's probably the best.
Visa's probably
comparison, I think.
Close size. Look up Jasper Visa, but I bet they're.
If Jasper Visa was English, he'd be playing number 8 for England.
Quite possible. CJ Stander.
Yeah, CJ Stander's another one.
Yeah, that's the sort of guy that I'm
Yeah, so
thinking of.
Visa's interesting, actually. Visa is listed as 2 inches taller, but a stone lighter than
Not
Barbary.
true. Absolutely not true.
I'm not sure either of those things are true, but
We'll have to go and weigh him.
I'm taller than Visa.
You're
So
gonna
how
have to-
was he listed as?
he's listed as 6'3".
No, he's not. He's not 6'3".
Whereas Barbary is listed as 6'1".
You know how many 6'1" number 8s?
Not
Well,
Ben Earl?
Jasper Visa's one.
Yes, true.
Just-
See, just down
I
his
don't know.
brother.
I don't.
Ben
I'm trying to
Ben
remember.
Earl's not even 6'1".
No, he's not. Interesting.
So he's going to struggle with the... I mean, I don't know what... It's like Ben Earl, though, isn't it? Like, you say, oh, he's struggling with the line. But you make it work. If he's good enough, he'll make it work.
Yeah, 100%.
So
So yeah, well done, Bath, and it is. Even so, I'm not a Bath fan, and I will definitely not be supporting them this coming weekend. But there is something nice about seeing that lovely classic blue, white, and black kit going well
Stash
at
is
the Rec
great.
with good crowd playing nice rugby as well.
I don't think I'd like Bath if they were sort of mid-table. I think I'd hate them. But I love them when they're either awful or really good.
Yeah,
But I've been watching them be awful for 3 years. It has been marvellous, to be fair. Like spending good money after bad over and over again. But now they've just burnt enough money, and that's the moral of the story.
just burn enough money and eventually it'll come good.
Yeah.
2 tries to mention this game. The Spencer try, which was Thockenham Singer down the right wing, lovely little 1-2. The Slade try, I thought was exquisite.
He's playing really well. Talk about England watch. Henry Slade has to get back in the squad.
Because he's doing such an
doing
important
such a good
leadership
job.
role
Yeah.
there. He's kicking as well,
Yeah.
which is always useful, particularly if they're missing Farrell. But I just loved the line, the deception from Hawkins on that, because it was a Hawkins really hard line that kind of it totally fixed. I think it was Redpath, but also made a Jomo almost step in and check himself. That then because he looked like Hawkins was going to carry it just as a total crash ball. And last second, a little pop to Slade, also cutting a great line.
Just on the
Really
England
good-
midfield.
really good try.
Just on the England midfield and sticking with Bath a little bit. Ollie Lawrence is playing so well this season, and whenever he plays for Bath, he's a 13, like he was at Worcester.
Yep.
But people seem to be putting him in this 12 role in their minds for England.
It's the same as Manu for the last X number of years.
Yeah.
But that's because it's the problem that we always talk about. Who is England's 12? Where are the names for the England 12s?
Really
Max Ajomo.
Well,
He's
so
playing
Jomo was
13.
playing 13.
I
The two
know.
12s in this game, Redpath and Hawkins.
And Hawkins, Wales.
Wales and Scotland.
Oh, by the way, you talk about the deception on the Slade try. I don't know how Redpath snuck through for his try.
Yeah, when he went down the right-hand wing with Redpath and then he came back round.
People at Sale, I've said this before, so I'll say it again. People at Sale talk about Redpath like he was the single greatest youngster that they've ever seen. And like for England to let him go, and he wanted to play for England too. He wanted to play for England.
Eddie Jones just trying to get all the dual qualified players in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he's a solution. Again, I don't know if... No, very few people were saying Nick Tompkins before he went and played well for Wales. I was, but...
Well,
you know.
they definitely were saying Redpath because he's in the England squad.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. He can't start for... He doesn't start for Scotland, so I'm not sure he'd be starting for England.
I think he'd be starting for England.
It's a tough question because who else is there?
He's a fine player.
I'm not doubting that. I'm just going. I don't think it's necessarily the answer.
He's still not had the single game performance that makes you think, yeah, he is the absolute boy. He has loads of flashes though.
Northampton Saints are looking good as well.
They are.
Really good win away
Yeah,
at Saracens.
yeah, and they've had
Digging in
some-
nicely. Furbank again looking good.
Furbank is looking great. He's playing really nicely at the moment.
I just want Courtney Laws playing for England again.
Maybe. I wonder if that's...
No, it's
the
not going to happen, but I want it to happen.
Well, if there's no captain, your captain steps down. Come on, Courtney.
He was the best player on the pitch. He's still amazing.
Yeah, he is still a quality player.
Yeah.
I think it's the kind of thing where he might do. He might for the Six Nations
I don't
this
think
year.
so. I don't think there's any desire to come back. But he'll be leaving to France, I guess, and so will Ludlam.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you're keeping your cards close to your chest on which club Courtney goes to, because you're going to support whatever team he plays for.
I don't know where the suggested club would be. Yeah, just more players over to France
or Japan. Just take it nice, easy, and only like 10, 15 games in a 4-month season, earn £1 million.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the reality to hit these unions that they need to let their players play somewhere else. Then the floodgates really will open.
It's going to happen at some point.
Has to, because otherwise, anyway, it doesn't matter. Gone over that plenty of times. Okay, so
I can see you're losing some energy from Dubai. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Dubai?
Yeah, okay. So we got there, and on the plane over, ran into Will Cliff. So, yep, which was a nice little surprise. So we got a chat about who he was playing for and whatnot. Then, as soon as I was wandering around like the player thing, I didn't speak to him. I saw Dean Schofield.
Really?
Yeah.
He was out there.
He was playing sevens, and he was.
There's a charity shop in Stockport that regularly through his career there'd be like the odd Friday after a week's training where Dean Schofield would deposit a bag of Sale Sharks and occasionally like England or England A or whatever stash just at the charity shop, and word would get round and loads of rugby fans would be there for some double XL.
I was talking to some actual rugby fans about Dean Schofield. I was like, oh my God, lads, it's Dean Schofield, right? And who? It's like Premiership winning captain, Dean Schofield.
Tom Curtis's stepdad.
Yeah, people like scratching their head like he went to Toulon and captained Toulon. He captained Toulon. No. Went to Worcester? No. Leeds? No. London Welsh? You must know one of these things. Like, how are you a rugby fan? You do not know who Dean Schofield is. Anyway, so this. Oh, I'll tell you what was really cool. So there's a charity team out there, and I'll get onto my rants about charity teams in a second. But all you need to know is there's a charity team. So Tom May was playing fly half. Tom May, it looks in great shape, and he can still play. He can absolutely shift. So. There's loads of ex-rugby league guys there.
Yeah.
Jodie Broughton of Salford City Reds fame.
Yeah.
There was Kyle Lulaway, Sean O'Loughlin.
Yeah.
Pat Richards.
Sean O'Loughlin, Owen Farrell's uncle.
Yes. Farrell Senior was there coaching the team.
Was he?
Yep.
Nice.
So these guys obviously had been battering lads left, right, and centre.
Yeah,
like 52 points, 50, whatever it was. They wander onto pitch 5, and they're looking like the absolute business. And they're playing this team like in blue and pink, and this team rip them to pieces. They absolutely rip them to pieces. And I was like, who are these boys? So I go over to their bench to like have a look at some faces. Like, I recognise that one. Oh, it's Henry Spate. Do you remember him?
Yes,
winger, with big hair,
Aussie winger.
Look down on the wing. I was like, that looks a little bit like David Smith from Toulon. Oh, it is
Toulon and Samoa winger.
Yeah. So I called over Mr. Spate. It's like, come here. Who is in this team?
You mean you didn't go over to Henry Spate and go, excuse me, Mr. Spate? You went, oh, yeah, come here.
Yeah, come here. So he comes over and was like, right, who are you boys? Because you just absolutely smashed them. So he runs through a list of lads who I can't remember exactly, but they're basically Kiwis and Australians who played in Pro D2 or somewhere like that. And we were just watching them. I think Parolini was the coach, I think. And
former rugby league Samoa, former Samoa number 8 or prop.
Yeah. And now he's
did he play rugby league as well?
UAE, I want to say.
Anyway.
Anyway, and they was like, they can't play sevens. Like they are playing 15s and we're playing sevens, and they honestly, boys, they absolutely smoked them. There was Barley Legends there. That's who Will Cliff is playing with Maxine Mamaz, Clement Potrino, a few others. They were very, very, very cool. Also run into friend of the pod and pod favourite Rob Vickerman. It's always good to run into him and have a chat.
Was he playing or just commentating and soaking up some of that World Rugby
He's
cash?
working for World Rugby, in sort of more of a commercial role, which is good because usually he's always tied up doing the comms. And met plenty of listeners. And then, right, 8 pints deep, wandering around the player park, and I bumped into the Dubai Dockers. And they're like, JB, yeah? We're a few players short. And I said, I'll play. Will you? Yeah, sure. I'll play. So we've been drinking.
Get me some boots
for 2 days, and I'm about 8 pints in now. Find me some boots. I'll play.
No, I don't know about you, Phil, but I think there's some revisionist history going on. What I'm imagining is 8 pints deep, full of I could do this. JB was going around to every single team. You got any spaces, lads? You got any spaces, lads? You got any spaces?
So I was getting the itch to play, but then when I said, you can play because I had 4 injured players, I said, I've actually got 2 mates that can play too.
Yeah, drop
and
Dave McAnally in
Dave McAnally. They were like, "Yep, get me some boots, boys. We're going to war."
Oh yes.
So on come the boots, and we play.
And they got you some. They got you some under 10-year-old. They got you some 10-year-old shorts as well to wear.
No, you just tuck them into your boxer shorts. There
was Sonny Bill Williams.
Sonny Bill Williams.
Yeah.
You always want to give people what they want. So, it wasn't 7s. It was 10s. I beg your pardon. And we played.
10s is marginally easier than playing 7s.
Yeah.
After you're a few pints deep.
I played inside centre against apparently a team full of Australian special forces. And we lost by 10 points to 0, which 10 is nothing. Made a few good line breaks, even if I say so myself. My last line break was pretty decent, and then out of nowhere I got absolutely levelled. I've not been levelled that hard for a long time. Yeah, so
awesome.
That was not great, but yeah, the playing
made you feel alive.
Yeah, the playing for Dubai, I was like, I love that. And it wasn't actually that difficult considering, the trauma that my body had been through. So, it's good. Hey, can I tell you about my plane ride on the way home?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get upgraded?
In a sense.
Ooh.
In a sense. Yeah, I got an upgrade. All right, boys. So.
Who is he sat next to?
So, as normal.
I know it wasn't Steve Diamond on the flight back to Manchester because he was on the telly.
Creepy JB comes with his biscuits onto the
I've seen this before
onto the plane.
It's not worked well when I've been there.
Well, it worked fine. It worked fine.
Oh, I'm confused. Creepy JB and his biscuits.
JB,
do you not know this?
A couple of times has.
I vaguely feel like I know this.
I always buy biscuits and sweets for the cabin crew.
And hands them over as we enter the plane, saying,
"Yes,
I know how hard you work."
I do know this.
Hoping to get an upgrade. The only time we've got anything when I've been with you, JB was. This was on a flight to New York a few years ago.
We got some champagne once.
No. So you bought a bottle of champagne, and because you'd given them 20 quid worth of biscuits and bought a 50 quid bottle of champagne, they gave us a warm can of Foster's.
No,
each.
you got it wrong. We did have cans of Heineken. We got the champagne on the way to America.
No, that was a flight to New York where you bought a bottle of champagne and they gave us some Budweiser. On the flight to Hong Kong to go to Japan, me and CJ, you fell asleep and you woke up and me and CJ were drinking champagne, and we told you that they brought us champagne and you missed it because you were asleep because of the biscuits. It wasn't.
Right.
So anyway, on this flight, you handed over your biscuits and sweets.
Yeah. So, hold on. Shall I remember?
Creepy JB and his biscuits.
Yeah, so
that's where we're at.
Biscuits handed over, right? And I take my seat, and as I sit down, I'm next to 3 older gentlemen, mid-50s, bigger lads, and we're on that row of 4 in the middle. So I sit down. And they're like, let me move you, sir. Now, I did not get upgraded, but I moved from a stacked row of 4 to sit next to a girl who I can only describe as I won't say an Instagram influencer, but certainly had some influence on Instagram. She'd been in Dubai for 10 days and had only paid for one meal. For one meal.
Wow.
Yeah. So for 8 hours... I spoke to her about rugby, rugby facts, and basically anything I could think of for about 8 hours.
So I'm guessing if she paid for one meal, I'm guessing she was very charming. individual.
Yes, she was actually. I'm trying to remember.
I'm guessing she had a friendly demeanour and a very nice smile.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. Hang on. Ieva from Lithuania. So I had the most delightful 8 hours on the way back. So we had 2 seats each, and even better than that, because I'd gone to because of my creepy biscuits, right? As soon as they sat me next to her, the next air hostess came up and thanked me. Said thank you so much. As soon as we're in the air, we're going to get you some drinks. To both of us, so it looked like we're together. I was like, yes, brilliant. And then again, they just kept on bringing us wine. So 4 hours in, we were getting fairly battered. Yeah, it was a delightful trip.
Creepy biscuits.
Creepy biscuits.
That's the name of this episode.
Creepy biscuits. Creepy wine. Dubai Instagram influence.
Yeah.
This is who I got to sit next to.
Very nice. Nods of approval.
It was genuinely...
It's a lovely dress.
It was genuinely the best 8 hours of her life.
Listening to all your Sales Sharks story.
She couldn't get enough of it.
Did you invite her to Beatdown Boulevard?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. She's joining our CrossFit gym next. CrossFit and rugby. She heard all about it.
So, and was the Dubai rugby experience... Because the Springboks or the Blitzboks won the.
I have no idea.
How much of the rugby did you watch?
You were asking the wrong guy. I watched 0 of the elite stuff.
The international stuff.
I watched 3 or 4 rounds of CrossFit. I really enjoyed that. So the WOD on competition or whatever it is, or I don't know, that is on. And next year, I keep saying I'm going to do it. I am definitely going to do that. That looked absolutely brilliant. So I watched a few rounds of that with some Brazilian hostesses who were doing COP28, who loved CrossFit, and then we went to watch just any grassroots players really. So we watched like the more amateur sevens. Watched a good schoolboy game. 2 of the Dubai schools going at it. Tell you what an opportunity for kids. So. If you can get your kids to go to Dubai Sevens, I know it's a pricey thing, it's a very private school thing to do, but I just was watching these boys players, like the amount they might not learn a lot from it, but just the experience in and of itself is just incredible.
Yeah. Someone's recommended, because the dates still haven't been confirmed. I want to go to South Africa in the summer because it's the last ever of the traditional tours, and Ireland are going to South Africa. But someone's mentioned Craven Week. It's like, around that same time it's Craven Week, which was new to me. Clearly, you know what that is.
Craven Week is where all the best schoolboys play.
Yeah, I know nothing about it, but basically it's serious. It's on schoolboy rugby's televised every week, and this is like a massive, massive deal.
Yeah, this is where John O'Ross made a bit of a name for himself. So he was talking on Rugby Engine about playing in Craven Week. It's like, what on earth is that? No, it's kind of a big deal. Yeah. Oh. So I'll just tell you some other players that I met.
Yeah, go on.
Are there? Dan Carter? Not really that bothered.
It's all right.
Brian Habana? Yeah, not bothered. Dominic Day? Very bothered. Very bothered about Dom Day. So we had a great little chat. There's a guy from America, Sevens, I really enjoyed talking to. There's a guy who I recognised because he used to play for Bristol back in the day. A South African, but played for USA. Can't remember his name now, but he was a good lad. Steph Armitage was there, and who was the other one I had a chat to? It has escaped me, but as soon as it comes back, so lots of rugby networking.
Good pool parties.
Yes, we did a great pool party the day before, an absolutely superb one, but not. I actually met some guys who play for a team up in Yorkshire. That was quite good fun, but I can't remember who they're called. Played for Huddersfield and someone else. Anyway, so lots of rugby networking was done, a tremendous amount. Did brunch, did a pool party, did several brunches actually, did the sevens, and I also went out on my own on the first night, which was tremendous fun. Even more fun.
Stephen Armitage, there's a number 8 who was under 6 foot.
Yeah, good shout. He was a 7 really, but played 8.
He played 8 for Toulon.
Yeah.
Should we do some fixtures for next week and then wrap this up to do a Patreon pod?
Yes, I think we should. Pod? Fixtures. Are you right? Top level. Are you excited about the Champions Cup? The
Yes.
Investec Champions Cup, is it called this time?
Is that what it's called this time?
I think it might be.
Yes, but for the wrong reasons.
What are you excited about?
I'm excited to see how the Premiership teams will go and see if my predictions of beatdowns will come true. I'm actually looking forward to seeing the French teams as well parade their wares to a UK domestic market. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how it pans out. But I don't think those are reasons that the general public would be interested in the Champions Cup.
Yeah, I'm not... It's kind of snuck up on me a little bit. I am interested to see how the Premiership match up for good and bad. I'm also, obviously, I'll be following my beloved Ulster, but and now my beloved Bordeaux, but really caring more about Ulster. And lost 2 games on the bounce. Just looked a bit underpowered when pushers come to shove. So I'm a little bit worried that it will be another disappointing year for Ulster and for England.
Well, your beloved Bordeaux are kicking things off away at Connacht in Galway on Friday night. It's quite an interesting place to start a Champions Cup season, isn't it, in Galway?
Yeah. Yep. And a tough place to go. French teams who don't travel particularly well going over to west of Ireland.
Yeah, Leinster only just managed to win going there at the weekend.
Yeah. So we got that on Friday, which obviously Bordeaux.
You're not going to make me go through all the fixtures, just tell me the Premiership ones.
Glasgow v Northampton is also Friday night.
Yeah.
Northampton. So
no, Glasgow beat Ulster quite handily last week.
No idea what
Glasgow have been close to the top of the table.
Well, we need to see the teams because we don't know. Some teams might rest a load of players in this. French clubs could well.
I would have thought so. French clubs have rested quite a few players from the teams that I've looked at. Certainly those who are in the
I hope everyone
Champions Cup.
goes full ball.
I think almost every team will go full ball.
Oh, I've just looked at Sunday's fixture and it's quite interesting. Anyway, Saturday, Toulon v Exeter. That'd be good. That'd be fun. Toulon are going to win. Yeah. Bath v Ulster.
That'll be a good game.
Oh, it could be Ulster.
It will be a good game. I think
that's a good game. That
Bath will probably edge it, but I think that will be a good game.
That could be Ulster. Toulouse, Cardiff, fine.
Yeah.
The Bulls v Saracens.
Saracens travel to Pretoria.
That'll be quite exciting. Because there's a bit of that might actually excite the South African audience because there's a bit of a connection there with those teams.
100%.
And the Bulls absolutely panned the Sharks their last game. So
Sharks are not going well at the moment.
No, they're really not. Munster against my beloved Bayonne, who are going to go there and get beaten.
No, come on, Bayonne could do this.
No.
Leaving your Bayonne.
Oh, I'll back the boys all the way, but no.
No.
That's fine. Bristol versus Lyon. Lyon.
That'll be quite interesting as well.
That should be another well matched game. I'll probably edge Lyon even away. Big pack. Sunday, hey JB, you got to get yourself to beat down Boulevard.
Why? Who's playing?
Say your beloved Sale against your beloved Stade Francais.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that is interesting.
That's a cool fixture.
That is a cool fixture. As is the ultimate fixture.
Oh,
La Rochelle Leinster.
Oof!
Repeat of the final.
There's bad blood in this one.
Yeah.
I think Leinster will win this, but I don't think it'll matter because they'll still lose the final.
Win the first game of the season, lose the last one.
Everyone will be waxing lyrical about them.
La Rochelle have been struggling, but are coming back into form. They're gathering a little bit of form. They pumped Perpignan at the weekend, but then they lost to Racing. But beat Bordeaux. They've been kind of hit and miss. Winning at home, losing away. They are at home.
Very nice.
So looking forward to that. Against Leinster, and then you've got Leicester v the Stormers.
Which you'd hope Leicester would win that at home.
Yeah. And again, a bit of interest for... Yeah, it's good, actually, from a kind of getting other audiences, apathetic audiences involved. The Bulls are up against Saracens. There's a kind of story there with South African connections. And Leicester with Andre Pollard, with Jasper Wiese against the Stormers. It's quite a good one. And Racing 92 v Harlequins, which is quite a sexy fixture to finish off the weekend.
Which we've seen a couple of times in... was it last season?
Yeah. Was it season before? I don't know.
I feel like it was last season because Quins beat them in one. I think it was a split. I think the Quins narrowly beat them at home and then lost away.
Yeah.
Last season it was December 22. Quins beat Racing 14-10 at home, and then January 23 this year. Racing 30, Harlequins 29. So, yeah, repeat from last time.
All good. Enjoy the rugby. Right, we're going to quickly break and do a Patreon pod about
Do we have to?
Yes, JB.
Okay.
We've got lots
We'll
of
do a
people.
quick one.
We've got people who support us on Patreon.
Right, we'll do it very quickly.
You can't have a 4-day bender and then complain about
You're
doing.
absolutely right.
The only reason you're there at that 4-day bender and matter and we're getting called over and
true.
said come and play in our team is because of this podcast.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm behaving like one of those concussion guys that forgot why they are in the position that they are in life anyway.
The perfect introduction to the Patreon pod, which you can find at patreon.com/EggChasers, and you can go and support us there for extra spicy content, which I think JB might get his mojo back in about 2 minutes' time over there. In the meantime,
Yes.
let the boys end.
Tired of ads crashing your comedy podcast party? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Sometimes during Christmas, something magical happens.
Hey, Cricket customers. The Max with Ads plan is included with the Cricket $60 unlimited plan at no additional cost. And this holiday season, Max is the one to watch when you're feeling festive.
Son of a nutcracker!
Cozy up to all the holiday classics, like Elf, 8-Bit Christmas, and the Harry Potter 8-film collection. Just log in with your Cricket username and password to experience Max on all your favorite devices. Phone plan streams and standard definition programming subject to change. Fees, terms, and restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
Paid actor portrayal.
I didn't see it coming. Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. The mortgage, car payments, and all the other bills. Even things like our annual summer vacation would be out of reach. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. I knew it was time to stop putting it off and get life insurance right now. I got on my computer and went to ethoslife.com. In just 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected. Thanks to Ethos, my family won't have to worry about the bills if the unpredictable happens to me.
Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethoslife.com/audio. That's ethoslife.com/audio.